Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to T's Time. I'm TJ. Today we're going to do our transmission pan. There's an internal filter which I don't know when the last time it was changed. I was going through the service history and I couldn't find anything. So while I'm in there, I grab upgrades. We have our PPE PTO side covers, and then we also have the transmission pan. PPE not to be confused with personal protective equipment, but it's specific performance engineering. That's what we have today. So along with that, we have our temp sensor for our gauges that we previously installed, so I can have a temperature gauge on the transmission so I know the fluid's at. We're going to get that installed, and then also the gear shift selector shaft, there's a seal. I need to replace that because that is leaking. But for our PTO covers, this isn't required. This is just a dress-up item. So this is what we have. That it comes with new gaskets, hardware, stainless steel. So stainless steel going into aluminum, I always put like some anti-seize because you have two different materials. You have aluminum and stainless steel, which could just seize up on its own. So it's always good to put like some anti-seize on that. So I do have some copper anti-seize right here that I'm going to throw in on these bolts when I put them in. So this isn't required. This is just a dress-up item. Like while I'm in there, I'm just going to throw that on just because. And then for our transmission pan, when you get this, it comes with a new gasket. These gaskets are reusable, so that's cool. You get a little pamphlet here with a sticker, and you take that out. And this is the transmission pan itself, and it comes with an internal filter. This is an extra deep. It needs to be for this transmission pan because this transmission pan is an extra deep version, so it increases your capacity of fluids, should help with cooling. So the more fluid you have in there, the cooler it should run because it has more fluid to dissipate the heat. So that's what this is, the purpose of that deep oil pan. But when you do go to the deep transmission pan, you need to just stick with these extra deep pickups. And then I'll show you the pan. So this is the deep pan right here. It has coolant fins that also help with cooling. I didn't get it powder coated or anything like that. I just wanted just raw aluminum. And then you also have these fins on the inside that will help with cooling also. And a plus to that, it also is a little seat. It locks in your deep filter. It keeps it from dropping down. So that's also a plus. And then the awesomeness of me needing to install this temperature sensor, it's already drilled and tapped. I just have to put it in there, and then I'll be able to read the temperature of the transmission. So this is awesome. It's heavy. It feels good in your hand. And then also has a high power magnet drain plug that comes with it. But before you install like all this, make sure you just go ahead and you clean all of this out just to make sure there's no like machining material left behind. And you're going to want to make sure your drain plug is tight. And even if you're not going to use both of these ports right here, I think it's what is it, 1/8 and a 1/4 inch NPT. Just make sure those are tight and they're good to go, just to be on the safe side. You don't want your fluid going all over the place. So to install this, we need to start with draining your fluid. So you drain your fluid, and then we're going to remove the pan, we're going to remove the PTO cover, and we're going to remove our gear shift selector shaft with this little guy right there. And then I also have the installation and removal tool. We can see if this will work, make life a little easier. I'm all about that, so that'll be cool if that makes it like a quick job rather than having to like use like I don't know, usually use like, you could drill a very small drill it, and then use like a pick to pull it out, but try not to mess up the shaft. So if that could take that out with me, just like you put it on, you tap it on, then you screw it in, and then there's a bolt that pulls it out. So hopefully that should be easy. And also, in addition to that, they have an extra double deep spin-on filter. So you have your internal filter, right here. This is the internal and this is the external. So this is supposed to be changed like every 100,000 miles, and this one about every 50,000 miles. So I've seen this was changed, but in the service records that I have, I don't know when this was changed. So if I have to change it, I might as well do an upgrade, and then I'll be able to have my temperature sensor to be able to read the temperature in the cab. So let's start with drain, remove. We're gonna do the PTO cover first. So drain fluid, PTO cover, and then I'm gonna try to do that gear selector shaft seal, and then we're gonna do the pan. So just make sure everything is clean, ready to go. You don't want stuff floating around in your fluids, so just make sure everything is real clean. So let's get to it. I'll see you at the bottom of the van. These are the bolts that came out. As you can see, they have some sealant. So those probably are some blind holes that go all the way through. So make sure you put some, I'm using Yamabond. Make sure you put some sealant on that. I was going to use like some anti-seize, but use some sealant just so that way if those holes are blind and have fluid coming out, you don't want it to leak around these bolt heads. So go ahead and put some sealant around those. Now do the same thing you did on this side on the other side. And now we're going to try to get this right here, the input shaft seal. Just get this off. While we wait for that to drip, I'm gonna let it drip a little bit more. I gotta install my temperature probe here. It's going in the side. It's 1/8 MPT, and that is a number 5 Allen head. take that little plug. Clean that little hole out. Excellent. Just make sure you don't have any debris inside your pan. I'll take some Teflon tape. And remember, this is aluminum and brass, so just be cautious of that. Cool, good and tight. All right. This is clean. Take your gasket, set it on top. And make sure this O-ring is removed. The old one is out, so that way this goes in. You don't want this to be double gasketed. It won't seat right. You'll probably end up cracking this if there's not enough room for it. So just make sure you get the old one out before this goes in. And it's just gonna sit like so. Or take that. And it goes the bolt washer. And you're gonna want to just start like 2, just to kind of get this up in the air to hold it into place. And I'm gonna use anti-seize on these. These aren't blind holes, so I'm gonna put anti-seize on this just so there's no issues further down the line. I just like using anti-seize, or I usually anti-seize or use blue Loctite. I'm gonna just put some anti-seize on this. Or actually, we could do a little blue Loctite today. And for the torque specs, they're 15 foot-pounds. This is the pattern that it suggests that you use. We're going to use that. Cool. All right, so we're gonna go get this installed. Remember, make sure that the old orange O-ring is out. You don't want this double gasket. You want to just make sure that just the one. Make sure this is cleaned. Cool. And just be cautious when you bring this in, dragging it under the vehicle, that like stuff doesn't fall into this, especially in this. Like the filter should catch, but like you don't want anything going in this. So before I go do that, I'm just put this like at an angle like so. So if stuff does fall down, it'll fall on the filter side. It won't go into the transmission. So grab some Loctite. Got our screws. Cool. So I'm just gonna get all these prepped, and I'm gonna see you back at the bottom of the under the truck or van. See you in a bit. And make sure you take this magnet and you push it over to the new filter. There's like a little ring right here. Clean that up and switch that over. All right, and bada boom, bada bing, it's in, it's installed. I don't know if you picked up on it, but I have the wrong tool to do the selector shaft seal. The diameter on the tool is too small to fit over it, and I don't want to sit there and just drill into it and use a pick and try to dig it out and end up marking it up, so it won't seal correctly anyway. So I'm just gonna wait till I get that tool, and then I'll make that happen. But the pan, it wasn't too bad, it wasn't too difficult. Let me show you on the old pan, the little O-ring I was talking about. You want to make sure that that comes out. And then when I was doing the install of the new pan, you want to make sure that filter, it's up and it's seated and it stays seated while you put the pan up, because I was putting it up and it was falling into the pan as I was trying to put it up against the transmission. So you want to just make sure that that filter is connected and it goes where it needs to be, because if it isn't, you'll have an issue with your transmission. You want to make sure, double check to make sure that that's installed. That was the most difficult part. Like if you're reusing, if you're just doing maintenance, if you're just changing this filter, drain the rest of that transmission fluid, and there should be a magnet somewhere in the pan. Just clean all that off and then just bolt it back up. On the new pan, the instructions were for 15 foot-pounds, so that might be about the same for to reinstall like the factory pan, factory gasket should be about the same as that. But it wasn't too difficult. It was pretty easy. It's just take your time and just do it right the first time, so you have to keep doing it. Like make sure that filter it's on there, because it dropped on me twice while I was putting it up there. Like I saw it, it dropped, and then I took it down, put it back up, and it dropped again. So the final time I just used my hand and kind of like jacked the pan up, because the pan is kind of heavy if you're doing it under the vehicle, to try to hold it up and get the bolts started. So I was using the jack to get it up there, and I just used my fingers to kind of just make sure it was seated till I got it like flush against the transmission. And then I started some screws or some bolts. So just make sure that filter is secure. So we have plenty more to come. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, just leave them down below in the comment section. And for a parts list of like what I was using and stuff like that, just look in the description. That's usually a good spot to find that. I usually put like the parts I use and just like tools and stuff like that that just make my life easier. So if I have to redo or do something else, I got like kind of like my own instruction manual. So until next Wednesday, it's all about time and patience. Anything is possible. Peace, TJ.